far, to me, removed from anything I'm comfortable with. I find that terrifying, especially if it's intelligent. I can deal with the thought of a Bigfoot because we're both mammals, so solidarity. But something that's not a mammal really that really creeps me out.
What do you think about giants? Do they exist, and how they existed, and what areas of this country have they been reported?
The giants. Let me throw that in with dinosaur sightings, with dragon sightings, with Bigfoot sightings. These are things that have been reported all around the world. In the U.S., the mound building culture. There are newspaper stories that from the 1800s of people digging into these, of tearing down the mounds for farmland and finding 9 foot tall skeleton, 9 foot long skeletons with double rows of teeth, 6 fingers, 6 toes. Some had horns. So there were reports from back east, from the Midwest, from out in the desert Southwest, of these exact type of creatures that were 9 feet tall, with the double rows of teeth, the 6 fingers, and some had horns. The ones in the desert Southwest were apparently a little bit better preserved and still had reddish hair. So in the United States, that's what kind we had. And, people will argue that biblically that's, kind of what they had too. I think, Goliath the giant, I think, how tall was he? It says in the Bible how tall he was. I'm thinking it was around 9 feet. But there were biblical giants. There were giants reported in South America, literally throughout the world. So were there giants? There's very possibly could have been giants. Now it's where they came from and what were they, I think is the bigger question.
Yeah. Has there been any sightings of giants at all across the country that when you were researching your book?
There were not in the U.S. There are, trying to remember the island in off the coast of South America. Not having a good time trying to place it in my head, but that legendarily they have giants on the island. But anyway, sheesh. Other than Bigfoot sightings, and I think they would qualify as giants. Giant sightings aren't really something that we see very often today.
Now,
but when you talk giants, we're talking 9 feet, 9 feet tall. I mean, that's gigantic. It's not the Jack and the Beanstalk giant that people think of.
And don't forget, a lot of people back when the giants in the biblical time, a lot of people don't realize that the average height of a man was around about 4'3" to about 4'5". So they humans weren't that tall. So, I mean, if something is 9 feet tall and you're only, like 4.5 feet, 4'7", that's a big height difference.
That's that's absolutely a huge difference. And this is, reading parts of the Bible, there were so many times that my Sunday school shortchanged me. And one of it was giants, because hearing the teacher tell me about, little Jason sitting there hearing about this giant, and David fought this monster. I was never told that there were villages of giants in the Bible. I'd always thought, as a kid, that Goliath was one, but he had, brothers. He had, entire. And there was an entire giant civilization. So, I mean, they were fairly widespread according to the old text.
Well, I think is Ireland or Scotland supposed to have giants too at one point. So, I mean,
in Ireland as well. There's I can't remember the name of the giant, but there was a an old legend in Ireland about a giant.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
James. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I was going to say the Native Americans, the Choctaw Nation from the Arkansas, Oklahoma area in 1855, they actually had a battle with Bigfoot. Now, this is where it gets weird. Is the head chief, him and his whole family, they were all 7 foot or bigger. They were giants. And they went out and fought the Bigfoot. And this was in 1855. You can look this stuff up. But I thought they kind of touched on both Bigfoot and giants. And it was kind of weird. The whole all of his family were basically 7 foot and bigger.
Yeah, those are. I mean, they're huge people. What would qualify as a giant? I mean, if Shaquille O'Neal took time traveled back 2,000 years, absolutely he'd be a giant.
Oh yeah,
isn't he 7 feet?
Well, don't forget there's some diseases that would cause people to grow like 9-10 feet tall. Now their life expectancy is like early 20s if they even make it that long. But even before that, their bones start breaking and all that stuff. What I read, but yes, there's giants still today walking around.
There was a woman in Missouri who was, I think, 8'4". She traveled with Barnum and Bailey Circus. She died, I think, 43 or 44 years old. But 8'4". That's a giant.
Well, if you had her a wife, that you would have nobody trying to pick a fight with you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, do you get many people writing to you with about, their sightings of these cryptids or anything?
Not as many as, being a big monster fan, not as many as I like. I did, I think I do get people writing me. I think my favorite, a lot of Bigfoot, but I love the, stories of the big hairy guy. Although I agree with you, he's not the Harry and the Hendersons friendly leaf-eating giant that we've been led to believe. The Native Americans mostly, from what I've read, considered Bigfoot. They considered Bigfoot another type of human and consider him a cannibal because he would kidnap and eat members of the tribe. But this woman from Nebraska got a hold of me and was asking me about this sighting that she had. It was I about said rural Nebraska. That's 98% of the state. I live next to Nebraska, so I know that it's pretty sparse. But she was walking the railroad tracks and saw what she thought was a huge dog until it got a little bit closer, and it didn't look like a dog. It was higher at the shoulders, lower at the back legs, and its head wasn't necessarily shaped like a dog. She threw rocks at it, and it went away. But I sent her a picture of the Shukin Warrican. It's that's a native of, I don't remember the tribe. Man, I'm blanking on a few things tonight. But in Montana, that had reported this type of creature to the settlers who came, and a guy shot it and killed it and had it stuffed, and you can find pictures of it online. But it looks like more of a hyena than a canine, than a wolf. And I sent her this picture, and she said, "My God, that's what I saw." There were 3 different species of hyenas that lived in North America, and going back to what we talked about before, maybe they didn't die in the Ice Age. We might have pockets of hyenas living in the United States. That's
possible. I mean, seriously, again, there's a lot of places in this country where people haven't put their foot down at. So you're writing a book about, is it going to be called Chasing Canadian Monsters, or what is it going to be called? Have you come up with a...
Well, probably to go on with the theme of chasing American monsters, probably chasing Canada's monsters.
Oh wow! You have any idea when that's going to come out? That's going to be interesting.
No, I don't. It's mainly because I'm not finished with it yet.
How long did it take? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, how long did it take you to write Chasing American Monsters?
It took quite a bit of research, so it was about 2 years.
Yeah, but it's a damn good read. I'll tell you that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It was fun to research and write, because there are a lot of monsters out there that are taken seriously. There are some the lizard man of South Carolina is taken seriously.
Okay, now can you explain what the lizard man looks like to the listeners?
It looks like about a 6 or 7 foot tall bipedal lizard, covered in scales, greenish, dripping mud and swamp moss off of it. This creature was seen by a number of people over a couple of week period. One, it attacked one young man's car, and he drove immediately to the police station. He was changing his tire. He was going through a swamp on a highway. There was swamp on either side of the road, and he'd stopped to change a tire. And when he was almost finished, he saw what he thought was a guy walking down the road, which is enough to scare you because it was in the middle of the night. And he had just finished when he noticed that the thing started running, and that it wasn't a man. It looked like an animal running on 2 legs, and he jumped in his car, and the thing started, beating on the car and scratching it up, and he tore out of there and went to the police station and had them look at his vehicle and told them what was there, and again, it was seen by a few more people over the next week or so. But it was a lizard man.
I wonder if an alien UFO landed around there and it was one of those.
Well, and that's something you've got to, that's absolutely valid to think that way, dude, because we don't have anything here that we know of. But there are stories of lizard people. I mean, going back, let's look at. I brought up the Bible when we were talking about giants. Why not the serpent from Genesis, from the Garden of Garden of Eden? The evil creature that tempted Eve. Was it a snake? I mean, that's what we think of serpents now, but back in the day, serpents were anything lizard-like. So, maybe these things have been hanging around longer than we think.
Oh, yeah. Now, do you have, because our time is almost up here, do you have a website people can go to?
Yeah, my website is my name, Jason Offutt, JASONOFFUTT.com. I've got a blog there, got links to all my books, a bio, how to get in touch with me, and there's going to be an announcement pretty soon on there about my next book, which is a science fiction novel coming out this summer.
Oh, great. Well, then we have to get you on for that. Now, I was going to ask you, do you want to come back on like late January and we can continue this conversation?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I love being on your show.
Well, thank you. And again, your book, Chasing American Monsters, available, on Amazon along with your other books?
Yes. I've got 5 books on the paranormal. The rest of my books are either novels or humor.
Well, you need to check out Jason Offutt on Amazon. I tell you what, Christmas is almost here. If you got somebody that's into cryptics, I tell you what, this is the Bible of cryptics. You if you want to hear about all these stories, I mean, this book is like the book you should have. It's called Chasing American Monsters by our good friend Jason Offutt. Hey, Jason, you have a great week, and I'll email you, and we'll set you back up for January.
Hey, that'd be great. Yes, you have a great week as well, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.